Hello and welcome to Box, the football talk show brought to you by Sportology TV with myself, Ali Drew. In part one of this week's episode, we were joined by former Newcastle and Crystal Palace player, now pundit Darren Ambrose, who was talking to us about his former clubs, who actually are playing each other tonight. But in part two of this week's episode, our guest who is joining us is a Wales international legend. He also played for teams including Cardiff City, Celtic and Crystal Palace. We are delighted to be joined by Joe Ledley. Joe, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Yeah, hi Ali. Thank you for having me. All good, thank you.
Good. Obviously, difficult time at the moment. I think it's probably more difficult for you because I saw in March that you made your debut for the Newcastle Jets. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. I went to Australia. I always wanted to play abroad, so I decided to go to Australia. Obviously, I started playing. I started my first game, and then the outbreak came over there with coronavirus, so came back. And then the season restarted. I think it was like May. So went back over to Australia, finished the season off, and came back. So now it's just a waiting game. Hopefully get a club as soon as possible. But it's very difficult at the moment. I'm just turned 34. So there's a lot of players in my sort of situation, which find it a lot harder now to get a club.
So are you sort of wanting to stay in this country now when you look for a club?
I don't mind as long as I'm playing football. I did really enjoy Australia. I thought it was really good lifestyle, amazing people, good standard of football, good players as well. And I'd love to go back. I'd love to bring the family over as well to experience it. But the season's just started. I think they're about 4 or 5 games in at the moment. So fingers crossed, hopefully I can get back over there. I've spoken to the chief exec over there and told him my situation. I want to come back. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it's just sort of everything's just gone a bit chaotic this year, hasn't it? Obviously, no football was on for over here for a good few months, but obviously it is back now, thank God. I've noticed that you've been doing a sort of media side of the stuff recently. I saw you on Soccer AM the other day. How are you finding all that?
It's all new to me. I find it obviously a little bit nerve-wracking when I'm sort of going on at first, and then sort of slowly get into it. Whether that's the route I want to go down after I stop playing football, I'm not too sure. But I'm enjoying it. I'm doing a lot with BBC Wales as well, with the Welsh team, covering a lot of that, which I enjoy. Soccer AM was a laugh, and that's what I do. I do like coming on sort of shows and having a little bit of fun.
Well, we're going to talk about some of your former teams that you've played for. So obviously, one of them we have to start off with is Cardiff City. So they're in the Championship and they're not having the best season. I think they're in 15th place. They're quite far down, considering how close they were to getting promoted last year. They got into the playoffs. How sort of disappointing is that to see that they're not having the best season?
Yes, it's been disappointing. I think, the fan situation with when Neil Harris sort of came in, I think they're disappointed with that appointment. Obviously, you've got to give a manager time. You've done well at first last season, but this season just didn't work. And there's a lot of things sort of outside of football as well, which have sort of killed the situation for Cardiff. They've got good players. Harry Wilson's come in, who I played with a few times at Derby in Wales, who's a fantastic player. And there is talent there. I've trained with them a while back when Neil Warnock was there, and they're a great bunch of boys, talented, but not just that, they got team bonding as well off the pitch, which is key for any club. Mick is obviously come in now as manager, so it'll be interesting to see how he does.
What do you make of him as the new manager?
I like him. I've always liked him. I like the way he speaks after games. I never worked under him, but a lot of people, I know Wayne Hennessy, for instance, he always raved about him and said how good of a manager he is. I know they've just signed Johnny Williams, another Welsh boy. So I remember he said to me he enjoyed working under Mick McCarthy. So there's a lot of people out there which has enjoyed working under him. So I think for Mick it's going to be difficult because the situation that he's only signed to the end of the season. It's going to take at least 5 games to 6 games to sort of know your starting 11 and what he wants out of the group. So he hasn't got much time there.
Do you think that they can sort of turn this season around and get sort of higher up into that top half, sort of actually make significant moves up the table? Or do you think they almost have to use this season as it's not worked out, a learning curve, and on to next season?
Yeah, I think they've definitely got the players to do that, to go up the league and get wins and get better performances and results. But it's the Championship. It's so difficult. You just never know what is going to happen in this league. And I've played it for a few times and a few years, and it's unpredictable. You just don't know what is going to happen. It's impossible to even put a bet on it, really. It's just one of those leagues where it's bizarre and these things happen in football and you just see some crazy results. But they've definitely got the talent. They've got the manager now as well. And I'd like to see some more young players come through at Cardiff. That's the most disappointing for me. Since sort of myself and Ramsey, Gunter, Cameron Jerome sort of was there. We had a great youth setup, and now that's sort of gone away from Cardiff, and you haven't seen many players coming through.
Obviously, this is going to be difficult to talk about for you, obviously playing for Cardiff City, but Swansea are doing quite well. They're up to second in the table. What do you make of their season? Obviously, it's a lot better than Cardiff. Yeah,
they've been great. Swansea have always had a great sort of way of football. It's a lot, the tactics and the information which all the players sort of know how to play their roles, and that's what's good about Swansea. And that's the route they've gone to. They've also introduced a lot of youngsters, which has been a success for them. They've gone on and sold them for a lot of money. Joe Rodon's gone to Spurs, for instance, and Cooper's come through. Kevin Cooper's son has come through the youth ranks as well. So Swansea are going in the right direction. They've invested well. And, it's obviously disappointed for the Cardiff boy to sort of see that happening. But, credit to the manager, Cooper, who's done a fine job as well.
And talking, obviously, in the intro, I said you played for Celtic as well. They're second currently in the table. What do you make of their season and the sort of the new management style they've got?
I think if you ask any fan and, ex-players as well, you always wanted that 10 in a row is massive for the club, just, for the bragging rights as well, to say, we've won the last 10 titles. But you got to take your hat off. They've won every single trophy for the last 4 years, which is unbelievable. Never been done. I don't think it'll ever be done again. And it's just disappointing that the league has sort of gone this way. If it was tight, a little bit tight, and lost it by a few points, I think the fans could understand that. But with the margin being so far away, it's disappointing. And I just hope as well they, stick with Lenny. I worked with him when I was come through, and he signed me at Celtic, and he's a fantastic manager. So hopefully they stick with him and continue their form and hopefully get the next year's title.
Yeah, because Rangers are so far ahead that it's, there's sort of, it's almost like the Celtic are almost competing for the sort of second, third spots rather than looking to win it, because they are so far ahead. Obviously, it's been great for them because they've had quite a troublesome time, when they sort of lost all the money, lost the players, and they've managed to get back up to the top, which is obviously difficult again because of the rivalry, but it's good to see that the club's sort of back in form.
Yeah, it is. And I was there with, and when Rangers were, my first year, they won the league and by 1 point, and then next year we managed to win it. And after that, they went down into the fourth division. And without a shadow of a doubt, you want Rangers to be in that league competing with you. It makes you a better player, more competitive for the league, and it's vital for those two to always be challenging for the title. And it's obviously good for fans to see, because that's the most important. It's entertaining. But yeah, when Rangers were in the in the Premier League, it was difficult times. It was hard to motivate yourself and the fans. It was a bit easy for us to win the league, obviously, because Celtic, without a shadow of a doubt, one of the best teams in that league. So without Rangers there, it was pretty a no-brainer to win the league.
Well, moving on to Crystal Palace, I think they're 13th in the Premier League at the moment. They're having an all right season. They obviously won at the weekend against Wolves. As I mentioned, they're playing at Newcastle tonight. What do you make of their season?
Palace have always been such a strange team. It's like a yo-yo, up and down. Honestly, the talent in that team is unbelievable, especially Wilfried Zaha. He can create, a lot of chances, and he scores a lot of goals. And for me, I think that team should be pushing for Europa League. They should be, at the top 6, top 7. It's been disappointing the last few years, but there's a lot of money being spent, a lot of players on a lot of money. So, you expect them to do a little bit better than 13th at the moment. But, Roy's got a good squad. They're always going to be pushing. I don't think they'd ever be down near the bottom of the table. And, hopefully now they can kick on. But that win against Wolves was a massive result for them. And I think that's what they need. Once they get those sort of results and they get consistent, then, it's like the Championship as well. You've got the leagues and confidence start flying. And hopefully they can get, closer to the 6.
Do you see them having a good performance tonight against Newcastle, or do you see it being a hard game for them?
No, I fancy Palace. We've always done pretty well against Newcastle, actually up and down again. But with some results against Newcastle, we've done pretty good. So it's all about, for me, it's all about Wilfried Zaha. If he's fit and he's on his game, then Palace can win any game. That's how good of a player he is, and I think Palace are lucky to have him at the moment. So if he's on his game and the others around him are working, then they've got a great chance.
And what do you make of this season as a whole? Obviously, it's been totally different. No crowds. It's been a bit crazy. The changes at the top of the table has been ridiculous. But what do you make of the season? Are you enjoying it?
I think, without fans is this difficult, especially for the players, without a shadow of a doubt. I played in one of the best derbies in the world, Celtic Rangers, and that atmosphere is what it's all about. And it doesn't matter if it's that or any, you always want fans, you always want an atmosphere, and it's got to be very difficult for the players at the moment. But it is enjoyable because it's unpredictable. Man United top of the league 4 months ago, everyone wanted Ollie out, wanted him sacked. So it's a crazy league again at the moment, and I'm enjoying it. It'll be interesting to see who wins. I think Man City are going to be more or less favourites at the moment, with Liverpool, injury with the defence. And again, down the bottom is, Sheffield United started picking up points. So, it is entertaining. So you can't really fault that. I thought it was going to be a lot of 0-0s and, scrappy draws here and there without fans, because it's sort of like a testimonial then. But it's been goals galore. It has been entertaining.
Amazing, with so many goals. What is your sort of top 4 that your prediction for the end of the season? Obviously, you said you think Man City will win it.
Yeah, I think Man City will win it. I think Liverpool will be second. I still think Chelsea's got a good chance. I think, the squad of players. I think Chelsea would nick maybe 3rd or 4th. I think Leicester. Okay. I think Rodgers done brilliant there. And I think the way they're playing, I think they're going to be consistent as well. And I think they might nick top 4.
And you mentioned Chelsea there. Obviously, they've got rid of Frank Lampard. And what do you make of that? And what do you make of his replacement, Thomas Tuchel?
Yeah, the replacement, obviously, without a shadow of a doubt, is a good replacement. He was at PSG, Dortmund, so he's a great manager without a shadow of a doubt. But I think with Frank, I think it's disappointing because he done well last season under circumstances, again with the transfer ban, could only have the youngsters to come through, and I don't think he's had enough time, and that's the worst thing in football at the moment with managers. If you don't do it within 4 or 5 months, you will be out the door, and that's what happened to Frank, because I think the performances were there, but with the results, it just wasn't good enough for a club like Chelsea and the amount of money they spent, and then that's down to the chairman because he has put in a lot of money.
What do you make of the sort of, it's almost like the modern way of managers, if they're not getting the results consistently, not really being given the time, and they get it didn't used to happen back in the day. You got Sir Alex Ferguson, Arsene Wenger, they lasted a long time. But nowadays it seems like not just Chelsea, it's quite common in a lot of clubs that as soon as there's a sort of run of poor form, they're out the door.
I think now though is a lot of money involved in football. Transfers, wages, people, who they're bringing in. So if the chairman's willing to spend all that money and give you all that money, you don't produce, then you sort of got to accept to be sacked. And I know it's a tough one because I think if you look at the most successful managers, they've always been at the club for quite a long time. So I think time is key as well for any manager, especially Frank, who's gone in. He's got a lot of youngsters who's brought in, new signings. They're going to need at least a year or two to gel as a team. So I don't know, it's a difficult one. It's a 50-50 for me. If you're spending a lot of money like that, and you can sort of accept to be sacked.
Yeah, because I obviously, as you said, the Ole Gunnar Solskjaer situation, everyone was calling for him to be sacked a couple of months ago. They went from 14th, I think, to top of the table. But also, I looked, and I think Alex Ferguson he produced worse results at first compared to what Ollie did. And obviously, he was given the time, and Ollie also has been given a bit more time. He hasn't gone. But it is true that it doesn't always happen straight away. And if they've got a plan that is totally different to how the sort of plan was before, they need the time to implement it.
Yeah, definitely. I think before you even meet all these chairmen, you as a manager, you would always say to them, "I've got a 2 to 3 year plan," and that is like any job interview. I can't see a manager going in and say, "This is this is my year. This is what's going to happen in 1 year," because it's never as easy as that. They always need 2 to 3 years to sort of get everyone to buy into what they want to achieve in that club, and they set their goals and transfers, people they need to get rid of as well. So it will take 2 to 3 years, and I think Ollie now has sort of got that in that squad, what he wants and what they need to achieve. And it's a great turnaround, because I got a lot of Man United fans, friends, and he wanted them, Ollie to go, but now they're all raving about him, and they're top of the league a few weeks ago, so can't complain. And hopefully they can stick with managers like him. Obviously Klopp as well. You don't want these sort of managers to go, because they're the best in the world. So we want them in the Premier League. I'm
sure that they should stop putting club legends as managers, because you don't want to see a club legend get sacked. I think that should be a rule. If you've played and you're a legend at that club, you're not allowed to manage it, because otherwise it sort of ruins the legacy of it.
I know it. Well, the thing is, you guess that if you're a legend like Frank was, you get so attached to the club, and when a job comes up like that, it's going to mean so much to him. But you got to feel for him. It's hard times being a football manager at the moment, and I'm sure he'll bounce back and get something, in the Premier League or elsewhere, and we'll see how good he does there as well. Because we had him at Derby and we made the playoff final, so I'm sure he's going to be hungry. He's still young, so he's going to be hungry to succeed as a manager and be successful.
What do you make, talking of Derby, of Wayne Rooney? Obviously, he's now retired from football and he's become manager of Derby. He was sort of player manager before, player coach.
Yeah.
And what do you make of obviously his career as a whole, and also the fact that he's gone straight into that full-time manager role?
Yeah, well, career without a shadow of a doubt. He's one of the best, Premier League players of all time. So much pressure on him, such a young age, and to produce the way he did for Man United was fantastic, and England as well. His career was unbelievable, and it's good to see that he's had the opportunity, to become, manager at Derby, which again is a great club. It's a big club in the Championship. You could see sort of last season he was having a lot of coaching with Koku, and you could sort of see that he was sort of ready to push on and become manager. So he started really well at the moment. He's had, I think, unbeaten last 3 games. So it's a big chance for Wayne to produce as a manager and see other people how well he does.
Well, before we finish, we always ask our players this question, so I'm going to ask you. Who do you think that the greatest player that you ever played alongside was?
Who I've played alongside?
Yeah, who you've played alongside.
Gareth Bale, without a doubt. I was with Giggs, but Giggsy was sort of coming to the end of his career. So, with Gareth, I'm good friends with. He was by far the best. And when we were at the Euros, you could see him train, because you only get 10 days of international. But when we were in the Euros, you see him. We were there for about a month, and honestly, some of the things he was doing in training was unbelievable. And not just in training, but on the pitch as well. He was massive for us. And yeah, easy Gareth Bale.
And on that, also, obviously that's who you played alongside, but who would you say the greatest player who you played against was? So on the pitch at the same time.
Iniesta for me. When we played Barcelona, I've always admired the way he's played football. I always watched when I was young. I always watched Serie A and La Liga. I don't know why I preferred those leagues than the Premier League. And I remember when he was sort of coming through at 17, I was watching him. I thought, oh my God, he's unbelievable. And then when I played against him a few times, you could see he's about 4 or 5 steps in front of anyone on that pitch. The minute he receives the ball, he knows where it's going next. So, yeah, I was very honoured to share the pitch with him, and it's by far Iniesta.
Brilliant. Well, Joe, thank you so much for your time. It's been great talking to you. And I hope you manage to get back out and play in Australia soon.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Cheers.
Great to be joined there by Joe Ledley. But guys, make sure you stay tuned. We have lots more shows planned and coming up. So please keep supporting the channel. Do what you can. Like, share, subscribe. Whatever you can, we appreciate it. And we will see you next time.